Good afternoon. Yeah. So today we will see the scheme. I think there was already one class that is already done with respect to schemes, right? So we will see what we have to look into, and this is primarily with respect to prelims. So we are not going to discuss anything related to mains. So here we will only be focusing on the prelims, coming prelims, in fact. So this is something like the current last 1 year. So is it that questions will only come from the last 1 year schemes, or is it like there can be a scope of asking previous schemes also? What do you think? There is a scope they will ask, and that is dependent on few factors. Like for example, if there is any specific change in ministry, or any specific allotment, budget allotment has increased, etc. Okay, in the recent past. So that should be one of the criteria for identifying that yes, this particular scheme may be asked. Okay, so and most important thing is uh, it is humanly impossible to remember all the schemes. And therefore, many a times we have to be very clear with respect to what we have to know in a scheme to mark a particular question. So knowing few things will help us to mark most of the questions, almost like 80% of the questions. Maybe 20% of the questions, if they are really difficult, very difficult, that would be something like purely factual questions where he is digging deep. That would be a difficult question. So if we try to see these questions here, these were something like, how do I approach schemes? To approach schemes, first of all, what is asked in the exam should be very clear. Suppose if I have to look at this question, Kisan credit card, short-term credit support is given to farmers for which of the following purposes? So to mark this question, I need not understand the scheme also. Now, this is one more important understanding. That means when I read the scheme, because of accumulation of facts, my common sense should not die. So this is one of the important aspects that will happen when we read more. So we start reading number of schemes, we overload ourselves, and because of that, our common sense doesn't work in the exam hall. So that is a mistake. So simple observation, if you see the questions, most of the questions, there will be some scope to identify a clue, and that should not be overshadowed because of your preparation of schemes. Somebody who wouldn't have prepared schemes also will mark these questions. This is what is very important. So you have read so many schemes, and therefore you're marking the wrong answer because you're overloaded, you're thinking something. So that should not be the case. It should be something like, yes, I've read it, I will use it wherever possible, but let me use my logic first. So common sense first to mark most of the questions related to schemes. This we have to keep in mind. So if you see this question, it is clearly mentioning short-term credit support, obviously. So short-term credit support will not be with respect to anything related to infrastructure. Okay, so it should be something like working capital or purchase of harvesters, tractors. This will consumption requirement, clearly mention consumption requirement short term, and then post-harvest expenses. Okay, and then here construction of family house. No, that is, are able to get this? So it is very clear that construction of something, or you're talking about some machinery, will always be long term. And therefore, you can mark the answer very easily, working capital, or maybe consumption requirement of households, or post-harvest expenses, etc. Is that okay? So similarly, if you observe, there is one more question here. Which of the following are the aims of Digital India plan of the government of India? Now, Now, Digital India Plan, you have read it, fantastic. Not read it, also fantastic. We can mark the answer. So that is what my intention is to like put this. So here, formation of India's own internet companies like China. Okay, so do you think that would be the objective? That is too much for us? Too much of an asking for us? Okay. Connect many of our villages to the internet and bring Wi-Fi to many of our schools. Decent enough? Establish a policy framework to encourage overseas multinational corporations that collect big data. The option itself is big. To build their large data centers within our national geographical boundaries. Big data, and also we are just getting into things. Okay, so most viable option should be what? Third option, right? So this is how it is. So many a times there will be clues in the exam. So just because we are reading schemes does not mean I will think from what I have read. It's a very wrong notion, and 99% is very difficult to mark pure factual questions. Okay, so we can't mark pure factual questions. Now there's, of course, Atal Innovation Mission. This was also asked. Niti Aayog, 2019. This was asked in 2019 just to give you a hold, because without understanding this, if we start reading. Now, once you have seen, like, you have understood what to look into, you can also read some schemes, the previous schemes as well. So two things. First thing is there is no replacement to common sense I've written. That means whatever we read is not important, is important. You have to apply it. That is what is important. Now, what will I look in a particular scheme? If you see all the questions of last 10 years of UPSC, there are only few areas they are checking. What are the few areas they're asking? So first thing is I should know the objective, why that scheme has been launched. That is the objective of the scheme. Most of the questions are like that only. They're asking the objective of the scheme. Second is nodal agency which is implementing. Is it SIDBI involved in it, NABARD involved in it? So which one is the nodal agency? So that is another thing which I will look in a particular scheme. Okay. And then who are the beneficiaries of the scheme? Who are the beneficiaries of the scheme? Who are benefiting? Is it only for BPL families? Is it for all the rural households, or whatever it is? So who are the beneficiaries who are going to benefit out of this particular scheme? So this is one more important aspect which I have to check. And then if at all there is any change with respect to ministries, for example, ministry, when I'm talking about Jal Shakti. So in 2019, there was merging of other ministries and you have come up with Jal Shakti. So that means Jal Shakti is somewhat important, and because there has been a merger and you have this Jal Shakti working towards certain schemes. Okay, so why? Because he can give it falls under which ministry, he can confuse you. And any specific sector where government is putting its focus, for example, renewable energies, or when we talk about solar, Modi is talking about solar. Okay, so these are some sectors. This is sector-specific importance. Oh, this is very important because Prime Minister is regularly talking about it. And therefore, I will work on those schemes. And next comes like whatever important areas mentioned in the budget. Something that is mentioned in the budget, again and again, there is repetition of it. So that is what I can learn rather than recollecting all the schemes. It's not possible to recollect all the schemes. Okay, so it looks like I know, but it is very difficult to recollect. So three things in mind: nodal agency, objectives of the scheme, beneficiaries, any new changes with respect to the scheme in the recent past, any increase in the budget allocation in the recent past, any increase in the budget allocation with respect to a particular scheme, or any importance in the recent past, or Prime Minister in his meetings, like in his announcements, was he talking about a particular scheme more often? So this is how are the main aspects which we will look for identifying, okay, this scheme is important, this scheme might come for the exam, and if it comes, I will mark. Okay, so this is what I've mentioned, there's no replacement to common sense. Okay, so now this is objective. See here, this was asked in 2017. What is the aim of the program Unnat Bharat Abhiyan? So that is very clear, very straightforward, asking like, what is the objective of this program? It's a straightforward question. If I know the objective, I will mark the question. Okay, so, and what is the purpose of Vidyanjali Yojana? This was also asked in 2017. Okay, so purpose, again clear, objective, what is the objective of this particular scheme? I hope it is clear, right? So we will do those schemes where it is mentioned here, like we have a list of schemes. Okay, so in that, we have something called as Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Okay, Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. So what the word itself, one is the ministry, which ministry, it should be very clear. Okay, and why was it in news is basically because a 1 month program was initiated by the government, which is around 7,200 crores. Okay, so 7,200 crores on a war footing, now you want to give it. Okay, so that is basically banks heralding accelerated rural and agricultural transformation. So for this, the budget allotment was around 7,200 crores. These are banks heralding accelerated rural and agriculture transformation. So 1 month program where you're talking about a target of 7,200 crores. And there will be active involvement of members of commercial banks, RRBs, small finance banks, NBFCs, and selective cooperative banks. Suppose you're saying, so the program is only handled by the commercial banks only. No, it is handled by all these entities. That is what we have to remember. All these entities are handling the program, and 1 month around 7,200 crores. So with respect to this discussion, we have Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. So that means this program is also to build infrastructure. So for such programs, now first thing is scheme implemented from August 2020. Okay, scheme implemented August 2020, and to provide debt financing facility for post-harvest management infrastructure. So here you're talking about, obviously the word itself is agriculture infrastructure. So the focus is on infrastructure, building farm infrastructure and post-harvest infrastructure. That is very clear. Okay, and there are many beneficiaries. Are self-help groups beneficiaries of this program? Yes, self-help groups are also beneficiaries of these programs. Okay, so primary agriculture credit societies, farmer producer organizations, self-help groups, all these are beneficiaries with respect to this program. Are you able to get this? Okay, so there is an interest subvention of 3% per annum up to 2 crores. So the program, that means here if you have an interest subvention of 3, what is interest subvention? Kind of subsidy, yes. Interest subvention is nothing but interest subsidy. Okay, interest subsidy of 3% per annum up to how much amount? 2 crore for a maximum period of 7 years. For a maximum period of 7 years. There's an upper limit also. That means it is not unending subsidy. The interest subvention subsidy will be given up to a period of 7 years. That is the understanding here. Okay, and there is a moratorium depending on the loan, etc. There can be some extension. Extension can go from 6 months to 2 years. Is that okay? Extension can grow from 6 months to 2 years. Okay, so now here, implementing agency for this program is NABARD. Are you able to get this now? Implementing agency for Agriculture Infrastructure Fund is NABARD. Is that okay? And this Agriculture Infrastructure Fund tenure period, they have kept a target of how many years now? 10 years. Should be almost like 10 years. 22. Okay, so 10-year is the period actually. Okay, is that okay? This is about Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Now, main objective, see here. One, we have to look at the nodal agency as I mentioned. Then the beneficiaries of the program, and some additional facts like how much interest subvention, what is the moratorium period. These are also a little difficult to remember in the exam hall. Now we can easily see and say, okay, 7 years. But that becomes difficult. When a number comes up, it becomes difficult, but we will be able to identify like interest subvention around 3%. Suppose you're giving interest subvention about 7%, 6%, that will be too much. Interest subvention is interest subsidy. Is that okay? Yes. Now, to mobilize a medium to long-term debt financing facility for investment in viable projects for post-harvest management infrastructure and community farming assets. That means you're spending money purely with respect to infrastructure. Is that okay? Understood? Okay, so, and if you read on this also, there is no use. Especially for prelims, we'll identify, now you may ask a question, sir, what if something else is asked? Let them ask. Okay, so the question here is like, we have seen based 99%, this would be the focus. Is that okay? Let's move forward. Now, heard of this program, PM Kisan Samman Nidhi. So we'll come to this. So let's get to this first. Okay, so Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So this is related to what? Crop insurance, no? To be very specific, crop insurance. Will it cover anything related to natural calamities, cyclones, etc.? Yes, yes. So that means that is the reason earlier schemes had some limitations. It has replaced some schemes which were there earlier. And there were some limitations. And that is the reason they have come up with Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Obviously, that is on. Now, of course, why was it in news? News here, it's basically, you're talking about a Diggy claim under the ambit. A new method of settlement of claims. A new method of settlement of claim where you need not go to the insurance office straight. Okay, so that is the aspect which is there. So one is which ministry, anyhow this we will anyhow know. Now there was a question asked in 2016. Let's see the question first. Okay, so this was the question in 2016. Is it visible? Okay, so you can see this question. Under this scheme, farmers will have to pay a uniform premium of 2% for any crop they cultivate in any season of the year. Now this is, that means I should know the scheme if I have to mark it based on this statement. This scheme covers post-harvest losses arising out of cyclones and unseasonal rains. That is okay. That is okay. Okay, so now one important observation is here for this particular program, when we talk about premium to be paid for the insurance, it is not same for all the crops. So when I read the scheme, I will understand that it is not same for all the crops. I may not know the exact numbers, but I at least know it is not same for all the crops. So a specific percentage is mentioned for the crops. Okay, so for example, some of the Kharif crops, it is around 2% of the simple interest or actuarial rate, we call it as. So actuarial rate is you're estimating the future losses also. So you'll estimate the future losses also, which you take into consideration, and you decide the actuarial rate. So out of both of them, which one is less that you are going to pay. So this is something for, then for Rabi again 1.5, and for Kharif and Rabi there are some annual commercial or horticulture crops, it is almost like 5%. Okay, so if I know this data, I need not remember the numbers also. I need not remember the numbers. If I know this data, probably I could have marked this answer easily. I think that should be clear. There's no confusion there. Okay. Now, a few important changes also that have come up, we will see. Okay, so here, what is the purpose? Comprehensive crop insurance from pre-sowing to post-harvest period. That is the main purpose. Okay, and it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Is that visible there? Okay, so centrally sponsored scheme. Is this clear? Central sector schemes, centrally sponsored schemes, right? Centrally sponsored scheme, demand-driven scheme, and it is voluntary for states as well as farmers. Now, there is no compulsion in the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana 2. So there are two things here. So when I talk about Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana 1 and 2, so Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana 2, the scheme has been made completely voluntary. Is that okay? The scheme has been made. So if the statement comes up like it is compulsory, then obviously it is a wrong statement. It has been made completely voluntary. Earlier it was compulsory for loan farmers availing crop loan, Kisan credit card account for notified crops. Now there is nothing like a compulsion. So the main aspect here is government is also limiting its premium that it is going to pay. This is also one more important change, limiting the premium which it is going to pay. See, the borrower is paying some. How much he is going to pay, it is decided there. We have seen the chart. And whatever left out, who is going to pay? Obviously, the government has to pay. Simple logic. Who is going to pay the remaining part? Government has to pay this premium. Now, government is talking about center decides to limit its premium subsidy to 30% for unirrigated areas and 25% for irrigated ones. Are you able to get this? That means there is a subsidy upper benchmark which the center has fixed. Okay, in the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana 2, this is one aspect which you will remember, upper limit. And second is, it is purely voluntary. Okay, so, and if the state wants to add other risk covers, in addition to the what center is talking about, state is free to do that. So state can add additional risk covers if it wants, and state is free to do that. And penalties to states for inadequate insurance coverage, that is also there. So states penalty if there is inadequate insurance coverage in time if it is not reaching the beneficiary. I think it is clear. Okay, so there is an aspect of penalty here that is also mentioned. I hope it is clear. Okay, so is that okay? Understood till here? Okay. Now see here, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana launched in 2016 and it has replaced the National Agriculture Insurance Scheme. That means there were earlier some schemes and that were not so completely supporting the farmer. And that is the reason you have come up with Fasal Bima Yojana. That is what is the understanding. Okay. And farmers, including sharecropper and tenant farmers. It is not just land holding farmer. So Fasal Bima Yojana is applicable for everybody, not just the land holding farmer. Unlike the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi is for land holding farmers. Okay. Only Orissa scheme is a little different where we talk about tenant farmers, which is the Kalia scheme. Okay, so otherwise, when I talk about Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, primarily we talk about land holding farmer. But here, when I'm talking about Fasal Bima Yojana, what is the observation? The observation is sharecroppers, tenant farmers do not have any holdings on the land. Okay, they're working there for wages. So growing notified crops in a notified area are eligible for coverage. Then of course, this is what premium to be paid by farmers. This I've mentioned there in that chart. Okay, this is the premium to be paid by the farmers and like 5%. So this is the area where the question was framed. 2016 question was framed here, not based on the percentages, but is it same or is it different? I hope it is clear. It is different. That is what is the observation there. Okay. And balance premium to be paid by whom? Government. But government now in the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana 2 is talking about some upper limit. It is upper limit here. You can observe here where it has decided to limit its premium subsidy to 30% for unirrigated areas and 25% for irrigated ones. Okay. So this is a change which you can observe here. Okay. So then it covers post-harvest losses as well. These points are important. It covers post-harvest losses, obviously. Otherwise, there's no point. You're coming up with a comprehensive program. So it will not be comprehensive if your post-harvest losses are not covered. Okay. So this is implemented by empaneled general insurance agencies. And the selection of this agency is done by whom? The selection of the implementing agency is done by the state government. Are you able to get this? So respective state government through a bidding process will be selecting the implementing agency, which is the general insurance company which you are selecting. So that would be decided by them. Is that okay? Understood? Yes. Zoom in. Okay. Is that okay? That's what I was asking. Is it visible? Okay, so now is it okay? Yes. So use of technology, in the scheme there is technology usage, there is crop insurance app, okay, portal is also there for integration of land records. Is that okay till there? Okay, fine. So once we have understood this, so this is very simple now. This is our data which we have in our material. Okay, so there also will not dig everything. We'll only look at few things only. Okay. Okay, so implementing agency is something like the agency which is the insurance company which you are talking about. And that would be selected by the state. Okay. Till here, is it okay? Yes, let's see here. Why is it in news? We have already seen all farmers, including sharecroppers and tenant farmers. That is clear. And centrally sponsored scheme. Objectives: financial support to farmers suffering crop losses, stabilizing their income and ensuring flow of credit to their agriculture sector, including natural calamities like cyclones and other things, right? Okay, so adoption of innovation and modern agricultural practices and diversification. So that should be clear. Okay, and here we have a chart which is mentioned. So premium by farmers, this is one chart. premium by farmers. This is, I've copied it from our material only. Premium by farmers, and then northeastern states, it's centrally sponsored, right? Centrally sponsored, northeastern states 90-10, and rest of the states, it is around 50:50. So that is one important observation here. And here you can see other key initiatives. Now, why was it in news? It was in news because of this DigiClaim. So DigiClaim here, under DigiClaim, all the claims are worked out through National Crop Insurance Portal instead of by the insurance company and paid to the farmer's account using public finance management systems, which can be monitored by both central and state government. So it is, farmers do not operate the module, DigiClaim module, and only Government of India and state government functionaries have access to it. Okay, so it eases. However, on settlement of claim, a SMS with a link is sent to the farmers to track the status of the payment of claims. So this is the discussion basically. Claims are worked out through a national crop insurance portal. National crop insurance portal instead of by the insurance company. So it is something like easing the process a little where you're using some technology. I hope it is clear, right? So this is about the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. That's more than sufficient. Okay, now. This is again the program. Now, few things. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Okay, so it is a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme. And Fasal Bima Yojana is sponsored 90-10 and 50-50. Fasal Bima Yojana 2, what were the two initiatives? In Fasal Bima, voluntary aspect. Voluntary aspect is one aspect which you have to remember. And second is the premium which the center is talking about, which it is keeping as the limit, 30% and 25%. Okay, so those things are the new changes which you will remember. So here, this is a very popular scheme, most of you should be knowing. And beneficiary of the scheme, all land holding farmers, subject to certain exclusions. All land holding, that means you are not talking about tenant farmers here. You're not talking about tenant farmers here. We are talking about all land holding farmers. This is the observation. So all tenant sharecroppers are eligible for Fasal Bima. They're not eligible for Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Okay, so based on these schemes, there are several other state governments running schemes. So like Kalia scheme in Orissa, but central government's Kisan Samman Nidhi was not covering the tenant farmers. Okay, it is only about the land holding farmers. Now, 6,000 rupees per year, 3 installments, okay, and retrospective effect 2018, they have started this program. Okay, and what is the main objective? To provide income support to all land holding eligible farmers, eligible farmer families. Okay, so when I say family, husband, wife, and minor children. That's also clearly mentioned, husband, wife, and minor children. Okay, and Kisan credit card to be given to all PM Kisan beneficiaries. PM Kisan beneficiary, Kisan credit card to be given to all PM Kisan beneficiaries to provide them short-term loans for crop and animal fish rearing at a maximum interest rate of 4% on timely repayment. Are you able to get this? Okay, so there is an eligibility for them, Kisan credit card. Okay, and project monitoring unit established at the central level. PMU is the responsible for overall monitoring of the scheme. Okay, so at the central level, you're coming up with a project monitoring unit, and that will check the implementation of the scheme. At the state level, there can be a dedicated PMU that can be set up. Okay, so this is the understanding. And there are some obviously exemptions. Farmers' family excluded. Professionals, engineer, doctor, okay. All who paid income tax in the last assessment year. Is that okay? Okay, income tax in the last assessment year. Okay, farmers and present holder of constitutional posts. Okay, and these are some of the exemptions. All institutional landholders. Institutional landholders exempted. Is that okay? Institutional landholders. If you give them a chance, they will grab everything. Okay, so this is also very difficult. I know some doctors who are getting it.
So who are institutional landholders?
Institutional landholder is something like, it is not individual, as simple as that. It is an enterprise. It can be an enterprise. Enterprise, yes. Till here, I think it is. So these are the three schemes here. I think there should not be any difficulty. And these are simple. Is that okay?
Sir, will every member of family get financial support separately?
How much? It is for the family. No. It is basically, there is a clear definition of family there. What is a family? How is it defined? Wife and minor. You will not come there. Huh? You will not. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay. So here, is this, now see here, this is about Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. So one is, you have National Food Security Act. See, this National Food Security Act 2013 had a lot of challenges for us in the WTO also. Okay, so WTO, there was a trouble because this was a very ambitious policy. Very ambitious policy, because of which we were about to cross our amber box subsidies also. Amber box in the WTO basket. Okay, so amber box subsidies, which you should not be giving more than a certain level. So they were putting on restrictions, and we were able to get some concession also with respect to Food Security Act implementation in the Bali Ministerial Conference and WTO. Bali Ministerial Conference and WTO, they said like, okay, fine, we will excuse you till 2017. Okay, so now why again discussion of National Food Security Act? See, this National Food Security Act, though it is there in 2013, there were questions asked many a times during other periods of time. Okay, so see here, this is one question which was asked. Consider the following statements regarding National Food Security Act 2013. And this was not asked in 2013. Okay, so this was asked, I think, after 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. Later, such questions are asked. Okay, so NFSA. So what is this ambitious target NFSA has kept? It wanted to cover almost like 67% of the population, which is too much. So if you want to cover 67% of the population, your food subsidy is definitely going to increase. Your MSPs are going to increase. And that is the reason we had problems in the amber box. Are able to get this? MSP is part of the amber box subsidy, and that is the reason this. So it is 67% of the country's population, including 75% of rural and 50% of the urban. This is a factual statement straight from the scheme only. Okay, and then under the Act, priority households are entitled to get 5 kg of food grains per person per month. So when I say priority household, priority and non-priority is the new distinction that they have brought in. So priority means I'm talking about BPL. Non-priority means we are talking about APL. So along with priority households, you also have Antyodaya Anna Yojana beneficiaries. So AY beneficiaries are even far more poorer than BPL. This is what we have to understand. Okay, so one is the priority households, so priority, non-priority. Priority household, when I say priority household, is BPL. Non-priority, who's not BPL, right? Okay, so and AAY, Antyodaya Ann Yojana, where you have, in the 2000s, we have come up with that program to target people who are even more poorer than BPL families under the TPDS. TPDS is Targeted Public Distribution System, which we came up in 1997. Okay, I think it is clear. Is that okay? So this was a question that was asked, a factual, very simple factual question. Okay, now here government extended Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, a key initiative launched under the National Food Security Act for another 5 years. Another 5 years, this was extended. Okay, so that is in news. This is the reason why we are talking about National Food Security Act, because of this extension of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. I hope it is clear, right? Okay, so here you can see food and nutritional security in human life cycle approach. And we'll come to that, what is human life cycle approach? From the birth you're talking about. Here, basically, you're talking about even lactating mothers and children, both. Okay, so coverage 67% of the country, 75% of rural, 50% of urban. Overall 67, this was the question. This was a static portion that was asked in the question. Identification of household based on NSS household consumption survey data of 2011-12. Now here you can see what is the objective of the program. A legal right to persons belonging to eligible households to receive food grains at subsidized price. So here subsidized price is something like the central issue price we are talking about. So central issue price is the price at which the grains are supplied by the central government to the fair price shops or the states. Okay, so that is called as the central issue price. So the central issue price will not be same for the APL families and BPL families. The central issue price will not be same for APL and BPL families. So we have the farmer, we have FCI, okay, State Civil Supplies Department, and from here it goes to the fair price shops. From here it's getting distributed, let's say for the priority households separately, non-priority. Primarily here the focus is priority households, or I'm talking about BPL. So identification of BPL and APL separately, this identification primarily is done by whom? Center or state? State basically used to do the part of the identification of BPL households. The state used to do this. Okay. Earlier there was a question asked like, what is the economic cost of FCI? This was a previous question that was asked. Economic cost of FCI includes both the procurement cost of FCI, this as well as the distribution cost. This was a question that was asked already, procurement plus distribution cost. So FCI supplies, that means the center supplies grains at a price called as the CIP, or the central issue prices. So the whole logic is this price was kept constant because this is for subsidy. Okay, this was not increased in line with the increase in the procurement costs of FCI. FCI's procurement costs year after year were increasing, but at the same time, we have not increased the central issue prices. Okay, so that is the reason the subsidy had to be increased. Subsidy is what? The gap between the procurement cost, or you can say the gap between the economic cost of FCI and this central issue price. That gap has increased over a period of time. So why? Because these prices were not increased on a regular basis, because you are thinking about subsidizing, as simple as that. So TPDS as a concept 1997, where you started targeting BPL and APL families. Okay, in the National Food Security Act, along with this TPDS, you are also targeting AAY segment. AAY is Antyodaya Ann Yojana program. Okay, so they are even more poorer than the BPL families. This is the understanding. Now, the legal right to persons belonging to eligible households to receive food grains at subsidized price, called the CIPs, under the Targeted Public Distribution System. I think that is the objective of the program. Now, moving forward, so primary households entitled to get 5 kg, and AAY, that is the poorest households, entitled for 35 kgs of food grains per family per month. Is that okay? So there is a difference between the primary households and Antyodaya households. Okay, and one important observation is Antyodaya households will also receive sugar. They will also receive sugar, 1 kg of sugar per family through the TPDS. So if you should be knowing, for sugar, generally there is no MSP, there is FRP. Okay, there is FRP, or the fair remunerative price, which has a legal backup. MSP does not have a legal backup. FRP has a legal backup, right? So here it is AY households receive 1 kg of sugar per family through the TPDS system. Okay, so central government gives subsidy of 18 rupee 50 paisa per month of sugar to the AY families. That is one thing which we'll remember. Okay, so here when we talk about NFSA focuses on several aspects. Pregnant women, lactating mothers, and children. That is why you use the word life cycle here. Okay, and they are entitled to maternity benefit of not less than rupees 6,000. Now, this one scheme, some facts you remember because many a times after 5-6 years they were asking questions on NFSA. After a long gap, they're asking like, okay, so that is the reason. Okay, food security allowance given to beneficiaries in case of non-supply of entitled food, grains or meals. So if there is no proper supply, there is an allowance also that is given. Allowance, okay, that is given here. That is also, and there is also a grievance redressal mechanism. There is a mechanism for even a penalty on the public servant or the authority. This is what is the important observation with respect to the scheme. Is that okay? Yes. Food security, basically. See, there were also discussions with respect to Aadhaar linkage with respect to NFSA. Okay, so that. Now see here, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, free food grains to about 81 crore NFSA beneficiaries, that is AAY households and priority households, is being provided for a period of 5 years. This is about the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Okay, so there are other schemes discussion here. There's a discussion on other schemes here. Then we have One Nation, One Ration Card. I hope you would have heard of this program. So One Nation, One Ration Card program. And here we are talking about Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana is under this ministry. Okay, but other schemes which we see here, for example, Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman. Okay, so here it is basically Ministry of Education is the nodal implementing agency. That is what you have to observe. Okay, so here Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman launched for providing one hot cooked meal in government and government aided schools from 21-22 to 25-26. This is the main objective. And here children of classes 1 to 8, and which ministry is the nodal ministry? Here it is Ministry of Education. It does not fall under this ministry. That is what you have to observe here. So tomorrow if a question pops up from here, you should be able to identify that this is not the same ministry. Is that okay? Yes. And then Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandan Prayojan Yojana, here you can see here, it was launched in 2017, incorporated in Mission Shakti. So it falls under which ministry? Ministry of Women and Child Development. I think it is clear. So these are some additional things which are written here. I hope it is clear. Okay, so it's factual. We have to remember a few things. NFSA, we have to remember a few things. 6,000. Life cycle approach. Okay, life cycle approach has to be remembered here. Okay, and who are the beneficiaries? Primary households, priority households are there, and also Antyodaya Annayojana. Sugar only for AAY beneficiaries. AAY beneficiaries. Okay, so that is another important aspect. Okay, and then Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman under Ministry of Education, and Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandan Yojana, Ministry of Women and Child Development. Is that okay? Yes. I'll be doing around 15, 16 schemes, around 15, 16. Till here, I think it's okay. We have that document also. I have the document of vision also. So that is also there. We will see later. Like wherever required, if additional data is required, we will see. Okay. So here you can see Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance. In this, we are talking about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan. So when I say Jan Dhan, you are talking about which aspect? Financial inclusion. So that means you have committees like Nachiket More committee around 2013 period, which has come up with recommendations related to financial inclusion. And that is how banks like payment banks or small finance banks, etc. were set up based on the recommendations of Nachiket More. Now we are trying to celebrate the success of Jan Dhan to some extent, and that is the reason there is a discussion on this particular scheme in the news, and that is why we are discussing. I hope it is clear. Okay, and there was a very simple, straightforward question in 2015. That is, anyhow, you can mark that question. Just wanted to show you the question. It is about Jan Dhan Yojana. What is the objective or the purpose? As simple as that. Okay, so this was asked in 2015, and clearly we can identify that it is financial inclusion in the country. Nachiket More committee also was related to financial inclusion. After that only we were able to achieve, I'll not say 100% financial inclusion, but probably we have almost touched 98 to 100% financial inclusion, though some accounts are non-operative in nature. Okay, some accounts are non-operative in nature. So this is what we have to remember. Okay, so earlier there were several things that were done. Along with this payment bank, there was earlier in 2000, they came up with bank correspondent model for financial inclusion. If you know, from 1960s and 70s, we came up with programs like Lead Bank Scheme. Okay, so Lead Bank Scheme was one very popular program that was asked in UPSC prelims already, where in every district, you're going to identify one main bank which will facilitate this financial inclusion. So that is Lead Bank Scheme. Then we have come up with concepts of regional rural banks in mid-1970s, RRBs also. That means why did RRB is also commercial bank? Why did we come up with RRBs? Because we felt, okay, banks nationalization did not get all the objectives which we wanted, including the financial inclusion. And that is the reason in mid-70s, we came up with the concept of RRBs. Okay, so regional rural banks, which is also a commercial entity, isn't it? Okay, so then subsequently, we have come up with bank correspondent models also, and several other measures also have been taken, but all could not do the benefit which we expected. And that is the reason you have this program called Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan. Okay, so now, which of the following are part of inclusive growth? There was a prelims question that was asked. Which of the following are part of inclusiveness or inclusive growth? And there were some options that were given earlier. And one of the options was financial inclusion. And financial inclusion is also part of inclusive growth. Only option that is not there in that question was capital markets. Okay, so investing money in capital markets is not seen as inclusive growth. So MGNREGS was one option that was given. Financial inclusion or Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is another option. So that means all these will lead to what? Inclusiveness or inclusive growth. That is the understanding here. Okay, so here purpose to ensure access to financial services, banking, remittance, credit insurance, pension in an affordable manner. And now one more thing here, there is an overdraft facility available. So this you remember that for Jan Dhan accounts also there is OD facility available, and OD facility without restriction is up to 2,000. You may feel, oh, OD 10,000. What is the meaning of OD? I'm making payment, I don't have money, and still I'm making payment. And that is what is OD. Okay, and will interest be charged on my OD? Obviously, interest will be charged. 12%, 15% based on the nominal interest rates in the market, the interest would be charged. It is not free. Obviously, if it is free means what? Everybody will open and take that 2,000. Okay, so that up to 2,000, there are no restrictions. But it can go up to 10,000. This is what is understanding, 10,000. That means with conditions. With condition. That does not mean 10,000 for everybody. That is not the case. There will be condition. But up to 2,000, there is no condition. You can make your payments, though the money is not there in the bank. Money is not there in the bank, provided you pay interest. Provided you have to again later pay interest. It's not free. This is what you have to understand. Okay, so accident coverage up to 2 lakhs. Now, this is a change basically. So, RuPay card insurance, free accidental insurance coverage on RuPay cards increased from 1 lakh to 2 lakh for all accounts opened after 2018. This is a change. Therefore, I will remember. So accidental insurance is somewhere around 2 lakhs, increased from 1 lakh. Overdraft facility without conditions up to 2,000. That is what you have to remember, and it can go up to 10,000 as well. Okay, and you also have operative Jan Dhan accounts as per extent RBI guidelines. PDA accounts is treated as an inoperative. So I'll call it as inoperative if I don't do transactions for 2 years. Our accounts generally, if you're not doing transactions for above 6 months and 1 year, generally the bank starts putting a block on it. Okay, so it is not 2 years for us. Okay, so regular accounts I'm talking about. But here you can see it's over a period of 2 years, you're not doing any transaction. Then it becomes what? Non-operative. Is that okay? Understood till there. Okay. And there is an app also. A mobile application was launched to provide a citizen-centric platform for locating banking touchpoints such as bank branches, ATMs, and other things. So that is one more observation here. So now, when was this launched? Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan 2014 National Mission for Financial Inclusion. And what are the basic tenets of the scheme? Banking the unbanked. That is what is the basic tenet. It is not just about opening the account, it also deals with other aspects. If you see, remittances, credit insurance, pension, accident coverage, and other things are also included when I talk about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan. Is that okay? Is that clear? Okay. So, and here you can see account opening in camp mode, zero balance and zero charges. So here you can observe, this is from our chart only, straight away from the vision material. You can see here, universal access to banking services, creation of credit guarantee fund. Credit guarantee fund. See, these credit guarantee funds are very helpful for giving loans to MSMEs as well. So we'll talk about the Ministry of MSME. So you'll understand there that there is this fund plays an important role there. Pension scheme for unorganized sector. This is also linked to Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan. Basic savings bank account with overdraft facility of 10,000. These can be some statements in the exam. Okay, micro insurance financial literacy program. Micro insurance, that means insurance facility is also available here. And creation of a credit guarantee fund, financial literacy program. Okay, and these accounts are eligible for under Mudra scheme. Mudra related to refinancing. Okay, and Atal Pension Yojana, and Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, and you have DBTs. So these are valid, accounts are eligible for all these entities. Obviously, otherwise there's no point in coming up with Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account. Simple logic. No, so that is the basic logic why we have come up with. Okay, so this is about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan. Sukanya Samriddhi. Heard of this? Which ministry? Fine. Same ministry, obviously. We're discussing finance, so obviously it is Ministry of Finance. Okay, so before we see this, okay, so I want you all to suppose we are not able to remember facts related to schemes and too difficult, then we will solve only the questions. It's not like there is more than one answer. Sorry, I did not put the options. Okay, there can be more than one answer also. Is that okay? So there's no scope for elimination for you here. Okay, so it started in the year 2015. Is that okay? It is factual question. Of course, if you don't know, we'll keep it aside. Okay, and then it is a part of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Yes, it is part of this campaign of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Okay, and then it requires to open special post account for meeting to expenses of education of girl child only. Okay, so so this is one. Then it does not cover expenses of marriage of girl child within its fold. Now you may say marriage means it's not that when the girl gets married, those expenses will be taken care of. But the purpose is not just education of the girl child, but also marriage. Very simple. Okay, so this statement is wrong. It does not cover. So from our chart itself, I'll show you one chart here. So one chart, our chart here, you can observe. Okay, so 2-3 things you can straight away observe here is saving for girl child's educational and marriage expenses. The objective is that, very clear. Savings for educational and marriage expenses. Attractive interest rate. Why in news? The discussion is from 8%, 8.2%. It has been increased for Jan to March 2024 quarter. That quarter, okay, that means the interest would be changed on a quarterly basis. This is what is observation. No? From this line, that is what I should understand. The interest would be changed on a quarterly basis. The fourth quarter, Q4, okay, so there is a change from 8% to 8.2% from Jan to March 2024. Is that okay? That means interest will be modified on a quarterly basis. Interest would be modified on a quarterly basis. That is what we have to understand from this line. Okay, so then what is the minimum deposit that is there? Minimum deposit can be 250 rupee and maximum in 1 year it should be 1.5 lakh. 1.5 lakh. That means if the statement is like there is no minimum and maximum restriction, then that is wrong. Or you need to have 5,000 rupees for opening. Okay, so that is also wrong. So minimum you can start up with 250 and it can go up to 1.5 lakh per year. That is very clear there. Okay, and eligibility, girl child under 10 years of age. Girl child under 10 years of age. This is the eligibility for Sukanya Samriddhi. Is that okay? Yes. Now you can see there are some exceptions. Of course, I have pulled some exceptions here. Okay, so one exception is for twins and triplets. Okay, so it is like beneficiaries could also be availed, benefits could also be availed for more than 2 in case of twins, triplets in the first birth or the second birth. Are we getting this? However, the first birth itself results in more than 2 girl children. Okay, girls born after the twins will not be eligible to open. I don't think UPSC will ask this also. Okay, but at least there are some limits, there are some exceptions for twins and triplets. That is what I will remember. Okay, there are some exceptions for twins and triplets and minimum deposit, maximum eligibility criteria. Okay, and one limitation here, only one account can be opened in the name of a girl child. Only one account can be opened in the name of a girl child. You can't open multiple accounts in the name of the girl child. Is that okay? So that is one more thing which you can observe here. And background, launched in 2015 as part of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign. So that time there was selfie with daughter campaign and all that. Okay, to promote. Okay, so to promote the welfare of the girl child, that is the objective in news, and interest would be tallied or changed or modified on a quarterly basis. And there was a slight increase from 8% to 8.2%. Is that okay? Yes. See here. Maturity of the scheme. The account shall mature after 21 years from the date of opening. Okay, now this is one more important fact which you will remember. So the account shall mature after 21 years from the date of opening or on the marriage of the girl child under whose name the account is opened, whichever is earlier. Is that okay? Account shall be matured. But however, some money can be taken. There is nothing like you can't take the money in between. There's some premature withdrawal. The girl child, once the girl child is 18, she can make an early withdrawal up to 50% of the balance for higher education. Okay, so there is a premature withdrawal also here. And maturity of the scheme, 21 years from the date of opening or on the marriage of the girl child. Okay, so that is one more important thing here. Okay, and in the event of the death of the account holder or where the central government is satisfied that continuation of the account is causing undue hardship to the account holder. So that time also there can be a premature closure of account. So there are certain conditions for premature closure of the account. Certain conditions are there for premature closure that is clearly mentioned here. Premature withdrawal allowed 18 years, 50% you can take, and maturity of the scheme 21 years or the marriage date. Okay, so whichever is earlier. And premature closure when the government thinks that holding it is becoming a burden. Okay, so holding this account becomes a burden. So this is about this particular scheme, Sukanya Samriddhi. Is that okay? Yes. I think this is the question. Now you can easily see that. Okay, so regular account works out, and meeting the expenses of education of girl child only, there need not be any special account, not required. And it does not cover expenses of marriage. You can't say that. It's basically for both education as well as marriage of the girl child. Okay, minimum 250, maximum 1.5 lakh. Okay, so that is about the scheme. Yes, yes. Let's move forward. Okay, yes. Yes. So here basically earlier actually there was post office facility available for Sukanya Samriddhi as well, right? Now see here, Stand Up India scheme, heard of this scheme? Which ministry? Ministry of Finance, yes. Okay, so here you can see there is eligibility criteria for Stand Up India scheme. Eligibility criteria for Stand Up India scheme. And see this question. There is one question, I don't know how far it is visible. The font is not too much. Okay, I put it here, you can see this. Okay. Is that okay? Yes. So here, with reference to Stand Up India scheme, which of the statements are correct? Okay, so the purpose is to promote entrepreneurship among SC, ST and women entrepreneurs. Is that okay? Yes, right statement. Okay, suppose it's a company where you don't have a proprietor kind of thing, then at least more than 50% of the stake should be with SC, ST or maybe a woman entrepreneur. Are you able to get this? So if it is something like a proprietor, there is no trouble only. So if it is not a proprietorship, then how do you decide? That means that 50% criteria becomes important there. Is that okay? Yes. And it provides for refinance through SIDBI. Is the statement okay? Yes. Okay, it provides, you know what is refinance? See, NABARD is one of the most famous bank for refinancing, if you know. So NABARD does not give direct individual loans. NABARD may give individual loans to institutions, direct loans to institutions, but NABARD will never give direct loans to individuals. Okay, so NABARD's primary function also, it refinances the financiers, isn't it? This is called as refinancing the financer. So whoever is financing, the banks are financing, you are refinancing the financer. Similarly, here we are talking about SIDBI. It provides for refinance through SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. Okay, so I think both are okay. There's no trouble with respect to the statements. And this was asked in CAPF. This question was already asked in CAPF earlier. I think it's a simple question. There is no much of a trouble there. Okay, now see here. Prime Minister acknowledged Stand Up India's role in empowering SC/ST communities, women and job creation at the completion of 7 years of the scheme. So that is the reason we are talking about the scheme. That means he said, Shabash, good, something we have done. Okay, so after running it for 7 years. So that is the discussion. Now, is it that a bank branch can give it to n number of people, such loans? Such loans can be given to n number of people. Like if all of us go to a bank and ask, like, is it like it can give to all of us if it likes, or is there any restriction there? Restriction? How many? Education? Okay. Fine. So here you can observe here, it's a central sector scheme, central sector, okay? And purpose is to empower Indians and every Indian and enable them to stand on their own feet, okay? So that is okay. So, and most important thing, it is for greenfield enterprises and greenfield, not brownfield, simple. It is a new enterprise you're talking about, and greenfield enterprise including services as well. Services as well. Suppose you're coming up with some services entity, then also you're eligible. Services, agri-allied or trading sector, all are eligible. Are you able to get this? It's not only for manufacturing. Manufacturing, services, okay, or you're talking about a trading sector or agri-allied activities, etc. Is that okay? Yes. Now, refinancing agency, the question that was asked, it is SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India. So it is visible that we generally don't observe. So here we have to remember that it is SIDBI. Okay. So objective, very clear objective here, to facilitate bank loans between 10 lakh to 1 crore to at least one SC or ST borrower and at least one woman borrower per bank branch. At least one. Okay, so kind of for setting up of greenfield enterprise. Very clear here. Okay, here you will find here one SC, ST borrowers and women. Very clear. The scheme is very clear. Talking about SC, ST borrower and woman, and he's talking about at least one. There is a condition for setting up a greenfield enterprise. So the keywords here is greenfield. Greenfield, SC, ST, and also one woman borrower. So here you can see eligibility criteria, SC, ST or woman above 18 years of age. Okay, and then loans available for setting up greenfield projects. This is from our material only, greenfield projects. At least 51% stake should be held by an SC, ST or woman entrepreneur for a non-individual enterprise. I mentioned it, suppose it is not a sole proprietorship kind of thing. Okay, they have multiple partners. Then it becomes like 51% stake should be held by SC, ST or woman entrepreneur for a non-individual enterprise. Is that okay? And then borrowers should not be in default to any bank or financial institution. This is important. Huh? The borrower should not be in default to any bank or financial institution. That means if they see your CIBIL, probably there's a lot of defaults. And finished. Understood? So no startup, no standing. Okay, so this is what. Now see here. Yeah. Yes. This is target for bank, obviously. No, bank has to at least give to one. Okay, so at least identify one. See, banks have 101 problems, if you go. Really, you take up this Stand Up India scheme and go, you will understand. Okay, so I know one of my friend who has gone. Okay, and he was expecting the maximum amount, 1 crore. And for which he made his wife the head of the entity, woman. Okay, of course, he will run the firm. Okay, so just because to qualify in stand-up, so woman, if madam is there, then there is a chance of getting the loan, and therefore he did it. And still there were 101 questions asked before starting up. Okay, so banks are already very much insecure with respect to startups. Okay, so of course we'll not discuss all that, but this is a good scheme. Let's move forward. So loan security, besides, now see here, besides primary security, the loan may be secured by collateral security or guarantee of Credit Guarantee Fund for Startup India. Credit Guarantee Fund for Startup India. See, banks will not give loans without security. So banks need some kind of guarantee. So that is basically, you can see the collateral free coverage the government has set up. To extend the collateral free coverage, the government has set up Credit Guarantee Fund for Stand Up India. But however, government does not allocate for loans under the schemes. Direct loans will not be given here. Okay, so this is about the Stand Up India scheme. We'll take break in another 15 minutes. Okay. Factual topic. No? Till here, I think it is okay. There's no much of a confusion. Let's move forward. Okay, so we'll come to animal husbandry later. Okay, I'll come to that later. Let's come to that later. Okay, so there's one more important ministry, that is Ministry of MSME, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Now, this is a developmental issue. That is, MSME is very, very significant. Last year, there was a question. Okay, I think this is the question. No. This was last year's question. I think this is the question. This was a question that they have asked last year. So this is from the basic observation of classification of MSME. Now you have a classification of MSMEs together for manufacturing as well as services. Manufacturing as well as services. And there is a new definition they have come up with, micro, small and medium enterprises, which was under discussion. And that is the reason this question was asked. Okay, so here you can see medium enterprises, investment in plant and machinery or equipment not more than 50 crore and annual turnover not more than 250. Annual turnover not more than 250. That is a very important point based on which there was a question. So here you can see not more than 1 crore and annual turnover not more than 1 to 5 basically. Here 1, investment, turnover 5. Then 10, 50. Okay, and then 50 to 50. Actually, it is very simple to identify. Okay, so very simple to identify that numbers itself are 15 and 25 crore. Okay, so based on which you can say that this is a wrong statement. Are you able to get this? Okay, so the MSME Act, so according to Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises Development Act, the medium enterprises are those with investment, plant and machinery between 15 crores and 25 crore. Okay, so that is the wrong statement from here. And what about this? Is it right or wrong? Is it that all MSME loans are, you'll tell me after the break, is it that all MSME loan enterprises, all bank loans to MSME qualify under the priority sector? See, there is something like PSL targets for banks. Okay, so, and micro, small, medium enterprises is part of the PSL targets, no doubt about it. But is it that all the loans which a bank gives to MSME, is it qualifying under the priority sector? Okay, so this you will tell me. Anybody who knows the answer? Okay, this you tell me after the break. Is that okay? So, you've not solved it? Previous question, last year question? Okay. No problem. Good. Okay. Okay, now see here. We'll come to this after the break. You'll tell me the answer in the break. You will not check the key of coaching institute, check the key of UPSC and tell me. Okay, so here, why is it in news? Revamped credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs was launched recently. That is the reason we are talking about this particular MSME. Okay, so revamped credit guarantee scheme for MSME. Revamped credit guarantee scheme for MSME. So we're talking about credit guarantee scheme for micro, small and medium enterprises. So this was revamped. So revamped credit guarantee, that was the discussion. Okay, that is the reason we are discussing this particular. So implementing authority here is Credit Guarantee Fund Trust, which has been set up. Implementing authority here is Credit Guarantee Fund Trust. Is that okay? Credit Guarantee Fund Trust. We'll see what this Credit Guarantee Fund Trust. And one more important thing which we should understand is both existing and new enterprises are eligible to be covered under the scheme. So when I say credit guarantee scheme for MSME, it is not just the new, but also the existing enterprises are eligible to be covered under the scheme. Is that okay? Yes. So credit guarantee scheme for MSME. So first of all, here we'll see the scheme was formally launched in 2000. Okay, so formally launched in 2000 and eligible activity manufacturing and services. Manufacturing and services, including trading, wholesale trade, retail, and educational training institutions, etc. Self-help groups and agriculture are ineligible for coverage. Now, this is what is the observation. So, what I should observe here is SHGs and agriculture are ineligible for coverage. Is that okay here? Okay. And eligible credit facility, fund and non-fund based, both are there. And there is an annual guarantee fee will be charged on the guaranteed amount for the first year and the outstanding amount for the remaining tenure of the credit facility. Now, what they did is, there was a slight change with respect to the guaranteed fees which has to be paid. Okay, so first of all, why is there a need for a credit guarantee fund trust here? You can see here. So what is the need for having the credit guaranteed trust for micro, small and medium enterprises? See, banks are giving loans, but MSMEs are more vulnerable to market conditions. Some slight change in market conditions. During COVID, what has happened? Most of the MSMEs were down. Okay, why? Because they cannot run their businesses because they are too small. They will have immediate impact. Then how will banks take up the load is the question. So claim settlement when the account turns NPA. That is very important now. So banks may incur NPAs here. The lending institution may invoke the guarantee. Lending institution, which is there, that will invoke this guarantee, which we were talking about, credit guarantee scheme, right? Credit guarantee. So when the loan has been given, the lending institution may invoke the guarantee in respect to a credit facility when the account turns into a non-performing asset. You're given loan, with what guarantee will you give a loan is the question. So you're giving a loan, the loan, there is every probability that that loan can turn into a NPA because MSMEs are more vulnerable to market systems and conditions. And then how are you going to manage it? So there you will have this credit guarantee fund helping you. You're invoking that credit guarantee here. However, initiation of legal proceedings as a precondition for invoking guarantees is now waived for credit facilities up to 10 lakh. Okay, so earlier, if the amount was 5 lakh, okay, so here you observe this line. Initiation of legal proceedings as a precondition for invoking of guarantee. So that means just like that, you can't invoke the guarantee. There is something like a legal proceeding that is there. Then only you can invoke the guarantee when the loan becomes NPA. So earlier it was, now it is waived for credit facilities up to 10 lakhs. You need not have a legal proceeding up to 10 lakhs. That is the meaning. Earlier it was only up to 5 lakh. So this is what is a revamped change. Are you able to get this? This is one change. A revamped change is like, so why there is a need for credit guarantee? Because the loan can turn out to become a NPA. That is. Then it will invoke a credit guarantee. Invoking a credit guarantee. Now the question comes up when you're invoking the credit guarantee, is there a legal proceeding? Okay, so earlier legal proceeding is required up to 5 lakh. Now it has been enhanced to 10 lakh. If 10 and above, then only you will talk about legal proceeding. Without that, you can invoke the guarantee when there is an NPA. So that is the revamped change. Are you able to get this? Okay, so that is the revamped change. So tenure of the guarantee cover under the scheme is for the agreed tenure of the term. That is the loan composite credit. In case of working capital, the guaranteed cover of 5 years or block of 5 years. You need not remember this. Okay, so obviously working capital need means you're taking the loan for short-term period. Working capital, when the word working capital itself means you're taking the loan for short-term period. Okay, so now come back here. Credit guaranteed trust for MSME. That is your last paragraph here. This is about the credit guaranteed trust. So for MSME, so this was launched in 2000. Okay, now you're coming up with this credit guaranteed trust for micro, small and medium enterprises, and it is being contributed by Government of India and SIDBI. See, you're invoking the guarantee means there should be something in that, no? You have to put some money into it. Okay, so when you're pushing some, so the contribution is Government of India and SIDBI are putting it in the ratio of 4:1. Okay, so UPSC will not ask complicated question. Okay, so that is first thing you will remember. Okay, but since data is there, but at least I should know SIDBI is there. That is SIDBI is involved as an entity here. That is one observation. And contribution to this trust is coming from government as well as SIDBI. That much. It is not equal. It is not equal. That is one more observation. It is not equal. Okay. And the government of India and SIDBI. Okay, so here Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for MSMEs is jointly set up by Ministry of MSME, Government of India, and SIDBI to catalyze the flow of institutional credit to MSME. So who were responsible to set this up? It is Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises plus government and SIDBI. All the three had an instrumental role to come up with this particular trust, Credit Guarantee Trust for MSMEs. And the funding basically you see 4:1, where central government coming up with 4 and the SIDBI putting in 1. Okay, so it has been instrumental in providing credit guarantee covered to collateral and a third-party guarantee-free credit facilities. So if you're asking banks to give collateral-free loan, there should be some guarantee for the bank, and that guarantee basically comes from this particular credit guarantee. I hope it is clear. So this is a little what happened is, I think, is this mentioned in the material? I don't know that. No. So therefore here probably there can be a question. They can ask Credit Guarantee Trust for MSME, suppose. So who has set this up? Who has set this up? So who has set this up? It is 3 entities: Ministry of MSME, the government, and SIDBI. That should be clear. And 4:1, that is another important. What is the purpose of setting this up? Easy flow of institutional credit to micro, small, and institutional credit means bank credit, simple. Bank credit to micro, small, and medium enterprises. Okay, so is it only for manufacturing MSME? No, it can be for services. Is that okay? Yes, that is one more observation here. Okay, so this is mentioned here in our material also. It is mentioned by this trust is set up by Ministry of MSME and SIDBI to implement the scheme. The corpus is contributed by government and SIDBI in the ratio of 4:1. It is not equal, at least that we have to remember. If not 4:1. Okay, so it's very difficult to remember 4:1. Very difficult in the exam condition, nobody will remember. We'll be very confident that nobody will remember. Nobody can remember, but he will use some elimination there. That's all. Nobody can remember that, but we know it. We'll probably will try to get. Okay, so I think it is clear. Okay. So we'll discuss this scheme and then we'll go for a small break. Heard of this scheme?
Hello aspirants, ready to master the UPSC prelims exams? Introducing Sandhan, the personalized test series from Vision IAS. Gain access to over 15,000 high-quality questions customized for your personal study needs. Choose between Vision IAS and UPSC previous year questions for your tests. Sharpen your time management with timed assessments under exam conditions. Get tailored feedback and recommendations from targeted improvement. Build your confidence through customized practice sessions. Take control of your preparation. Enroll in the Sandhan personalized test series today.
Now, one important observation, continuing the previous discussion. Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for MSME would provide guarantee coverage to eligible lending institutions for facilitating credit support to Vishwakarmas. Are you able to get this line here? Are you able to get this? This is a link here. Okay, so Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for MSMEs, which we have discussed, which is set up by SIDBI and the government. Okay, so would provide guarantee, here also the guarantee coverage to eligible lending institutions for facilitating credit support to Vishwakarmas. I think that is a kind of a continuation from the previous discussion. So otherwise, if that support is not given, then what will happen is banks' NPAs will increase. Today, our banks' NPAs are doing well. That means doing well means we have low NPA. We have low NPA. Last 6-7 years, if you observe, take the data, our NPA is pretty decent now. NPA is pretty decent. Almost all the banks, except for the urban cooperative banks, there's slight increase of NPA, but otherwise, we are doing well with respect to NPA. So unnecessarily, if there is no guarantee or a backup given, one, banks will not be interested. Two, NPAs will come, then there will be trouble. Okay, revamped is with respect to, I think it is clear, revamped is with respect to earlier discussion. Okay, so that was a change. I don't think they will specifically ask what was the change. That will be a difficult question again. Okay, so here let's see. So PM Vishwakarma scheme, purpose, holistic support to the traditional artisans and craft people. And it is a central sector scheme. Central sector. Okay, that is central sector scheme. Rural and urban areas with a focus on saturating districts in a phased manner, and rural and urban both. And this is basically from 2023-24 to 27-28. Okay. So what are the main objectives we will see? So the objectives of Vishwakarma scheme, recognition of artisans and craft people as Vishwakarmas, and to provide mainly skill upgradation. See, one is skill, two is branding or creating a market scenario. That means they have to reach the markets also. So reaching markets is very difficult. So one is skill, second is how do you reach the market? Okay, so to provide incentives for digital transactions and to provide a platform for brand promotion and market linkages to help them access new opportunities of growth. There may be demand in the market, but they are not able to access it because they don't know how to brand it. I think it's clear. Okay, so that is to provide incentive for digital transactions. Okay, now one important feature of Vishwakarma scheme is when we talk about the implementation, it is implemented by Ministry of MSME, Skill Development and Finance. Are you able to get this? Co-jointly implemented by. So why? Because you have this trust, credit guarantee trust role involved here when we talk about giving guarantees for the lending institutions, which is under the Ministry of MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. Are you able to get this? Okay, so it is co-jointly implemented by, okay, so Ministry of MSMEs and Finance. Is that okay? So now working with hand, okay, this is the basic definition, and eligibility at least 18 years old. Okay, so, and beneficiaries who have availed loans under similar credit-based schemes of the center or state are excluded. Obviously, they have to be excluded because already you have taken such kind of loans earlier. Okay, but there are some exceptions for the exclusions. That is, exceptions are made for Mudra and Swarnidhi beneficiaries who fully repaid their loans within this period. So those, under these two programs, those who have repaid their loans, they can again take the benefits of Vishwakarma. Okay, so that is what it means. And individuals in government service, obviously, they should be excluded. Already you have government job, do that. Okay, so focus there. I think that is clear. Okay. Now, if he asks in this area, the question will be easy. That is what is the meaning, right? That is the reason I divided it into two. This area, I can mark the question. This area, I'll find it difficult. I should have some elimination technique, etc., to mark these questions. Why? Because it becomes too much of detail. But we'll briefly see what are the things which are there. PM Vishwakarma certificate and ID card to artisans and craft persons. Okay, so that is the, and skill upgradation, basic training of 5 to 7 days, advanced training for 15 days with a stipend of, that means, is stipend available? Yes, that much. Skill upgradation, stipend available? Yes. Okay, so that is what you'll remember. And toolkit incentives are also there, up to something like 15,000 rupees. And collateral-free enterprise development loans up to 3 lakhs. Collateral-free comes because of the guarantees given. So collateral-free loans up to 3 lakhs. Okay, so you'll also remember that for eligibility of loans, you have to, there are certain conditions. The conditions are with respect to completion of training, etc. There are some conditions which are there. Okay, so that conditions, that means you have completed some basic training, then you will be able to avail the loan. Otherwise, no. So you are able to, that means there is some aspect involved here when it comes to the enterprise development loans. So when you're talking about these enterprise development loans, when you have to take, that means there are certain conditions. For example, for the first set of loan when you have to take, you should have completed the basic training. That is what it means. That means there are certain conditions for taking the loan. That is what I mean. Is that okay? So, and then second set, again, there is a certain condition. Okay, so incentive for digital transaction, ₹1 per digital transaction up to a maximum of 100 transactions per month. So more digital transactions, government is incentivizing them to go ahead with digital transaction. Okay, so that is what it means. And again, it is this trust which is helping them. Okay, we'll take a break immediately. Yes, take a break now. Shall we start? Okay, so the next ministry here, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Okay, here, why there is importance for these schemes? The reason being doubling farmers' income. Okay, so Ashok Dalwai committee in 2018 has clearly mentioned two things. One is agriculture marketing has to be revamped. Agriculture marketing, that means we're talking about APMC committees. And as far as agriculture marketing is concerned, why can't we push agriculture marketing into the concurrent list? This is what he was suggesting. And second important suggestion which he made is doubling agricultural exports. That means unless and until we double agricultural exports, we cannot increase the farmer's income. This is one more important aspect which he was talking about. Third important aspect is, if we have to double farmers' income, there should be more focus on allied activities rather than the core crop. Okay, so we have to focus more on livestock, fisheries and other activities, and only then you will be able to double farmers' income. And that is the reason what we observe is from that point of time, there is more focus. If I have to pull out last 10 years data also, in the last 10 years data, we can find that the share of crops to the overall GVA of agriculture is reducing, and the share of livestock or share of other allied activities, specifically talking about allied activities, is increasing as a overall GVA of agriculture. This is one observation. So when we talk about Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, this is also something related to the allied activity. And what is the most important aspect here? Here you can observe here doubling of incomes of fisheries and fish farmer. Very clear here. Doublings of incomes of fisheries and fish farmer. Reducing post-harvest losses. That means infrastructure should be intact. Otherwise, you cannot have reduced post-harvest losses. Double export earnings to about 1 lakh crore. Ashok Dalwai was also talking about doubling exports overall, agri exports. That is the reason we also came up with agriculture export policy in 2018. 2018, Government of India came up with a specific agriculture export policy. And there again, there was a primary focus on value addition. Unless and until we add value, you cannot increase agri exports. Increase of contribution of GVA of fisheries sector to agriculture GVA to 9%. That means to the overall contribution of agriculture, we want to increase the contribution of fisheries. Is that okay? So this is also one more important. And enhanced fish production. That is anyhow there. Enhancing fish production, GVA, doubling export earnings, reduction of post-harvest losses, doubling of incomes of the fisheries and fish farmer. Is that okay? So this is what is the clear focus of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Now there is this Matsya Sampada Jagrutan Abhiyan. This is basically to build awareness. So this is to build awareness among the fishing farmers. Okay, so that is basically, that with respect to that, it is in news. But there is one more important activity or more important scheme that was in the discussion last few years, which we will talk about. Okay, so what is the main objective or the purpose of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana is bring blue revolution through sustainable and responsible development of fisheries sector in India. As simple as that, he's talking about blue revolution. Okay, and now here you will find that it is both a central sector scheme and a centrally sponsored scheme. Now this is something like for certain aspects, there is direct central sector funding. but certain aspects there will be a share of center as well as state. That is the meaning basically. So the meaning is very clear here. So here you have it's a central sector and centrally sponsored scheme, both put together. And the tenure period is 2020-21 to 24-25. Okay. So for those aspects where there is a sharing, so sharing generally comes with respect to core infrastructure areas, central government takes care. But whenever there is a sharing pattern, that is a centrally sponsored component here. That is both central sector as well as centrally sponsored. So in the centrally sponsored component, northeastern states, the sharing is 90-10, and other states it is 60-40. This is what it says. Other states it is 60-40, but northeastern and Himalayan states it is 90-10. That is one important observation there. Okay, so very clear objectives. Modernizing value chain, post-harvest management, etc. That means infrastructure here. And modernizing value chain, increasing fisheries potential, doubling fishers' income and generation of employment. So this is the most important criteria which we have already seen in that chart. Is that okay? Then this is Matsya Sampada Jagrukta Abhiyan is basically an awareness program for enhancing outreach across India. Okay, so this is to ensure last mile connectivity. Now, there is one more important program here, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Saha Yojana. So many schemes. Okay, so this is it's a kind of a sub-scheme under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Okay, so sub-scheme under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. And this is to primarily help MSME operating in the fisheries sector. MSMEs operating in the fisheries sector, micro, small and medium enterprises operating in the fisheries sector. This is also under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. And here you will find it is a central sector scheme. But there it is both, it includes both. Okay, so here it is a purely a central sector scheme. You're trying to help MSMEs which are operating in the fisheries sector. That is the objective of this particular scheme. Okay, so there is an investment of 6,000 crore for a tenure of 4 years. Okay, for a tenure of 4 years. Okay, so this is about the other aspect there. So here there is one funding allocation, if you see 50% public finance, and that means you're involving World Bank and other agencies as well. So funding for funding purposes, you are involving World Bank and other agencies as well. And another 50%, it is private sector leverage. Okay, that means you're involving private sector here. So this is another scheme, sub-scheme under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, which is primarily with respect to help MSMEs that are operating in the fisheries sector. Is that okay? See, there are many other schemes also in agriculture. Then how will you read? Agriculture, what you will do? You will check whatever is discussed in the budget. So that is what you will check for the exam. That is how it is. Okay, so these are what last 1 year discussions mainly. And if any old scheme I have to read, I will go by what? I can't read all the old schemes. So any discussions or extensions in the budget, that is where you will concentrate, that's it. Okay, and when we talk about this particular program, it is the National Fisheries Development Board, which is the nodal agency. National Fisheries Development Board, which is the nodal agency for implementation. Suppose we have 6 months time, we'll also dig into what is this National Fisheries Development Board. Okay, so but now it will become difficult. So that is how we will, that means if something is very important, I will take that and also get into it. But now I think that will be too much for us. Now, I think it is clear till there, right? This is the nodal agency for this particular program. Yes. Ha. Yes. So, but suppose if it is you're talking about SIDBI or NABARD, suppose other entities, then it's okay. But otherwise, it is clearly fisheries related entity, so obviously it is there. Okay. See, a Ministry of Labor and Employment. Ministry of Labor and Employment. Now, why this ministry is important and other reasons is, it is basically in the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, so we have 5 pillars for self-reliant India. Okay, so 5 pillars for self-reliant India. So government is primarily working on these 5 pillars. So one is, you're talking about infrastructure. Okay, technology, demography is another important aspect. So when we talk about demography, okay, so you're talking about labor. So here what we do is, in the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, when we say package of 20 lakh crore, focus on land, labor, liquidity and laws. Observe this, land, labor, liquidity and laws. Okay, so that means there is a focus on labor. Okay, so that is one important observation. To cater to laborers, middle class, cottage industries, MSMEs and industries among others. This is the focus. That is the reason government programs are primarily towards, that means, so whatever schemes related to MSME or schemes related to labor, schemes related to agriculture, etc., these things will become more important for the exam. There is a very clear indication from the government side that government will focus more on certain aspects. So one is agriculture, obviously. That is the reason you find one or the other question with respect to agriculture. And then loans related aspect, when I say liquidity and loans, so you are having, when I say Kisan credit card related aspects, etc., why there were questions asked. So there is a reason for that. Okay, and then you also can expect some questions related to those entities which are under the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Even there can be questions, if you observe the question papers of recent CDS 2024, you will find some clues that there was questions from poverty, there were questions from unemployment, there were questions from labor, there were questions on national income. Okay, there was questions on inflation. Go and check the paper once. Okay, so all the topics are covered, all the topics. And primarily poverty related questions and inclusiveness related questions were asked after a very long time. There's a clear indication that these are the areas which are important. Okay, so now Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana. Okay, now of course government will say we have done our best, and government is always on the positive note. And the PLFS survey also is saying that unemployment is okay. Okay, the recent PLFS survey shows unemployment rates have decreased, labor force participation rates have improved, worker population ratios are also okay. Recent survey. So recent PLFS, periodic labor force survey, heard of it? Okay, so that is one observation here. Now, Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana has surpassed its initial employment generation goals, leading to job creation. Obviously, government is talking about positivity. Okay, so now Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana to boost the creation of new jobs in the formal sector post-COVID. So the observation is, because of COVID, there was a lot of trouble and loss of jobs, and you want to handle that. That is the main purpose of this scheme. That is very clear here, to boost the creation of new jobs in the formal sector, post-COVID. And it is a central sector scheme. And the job creation is primarily incentivized, or contribution is incentivized by the contribution to EPF, Employee Provident Fund, by the central government. Okay, and the implementing agency will be EPFO. Implementing agency. Okay, so there's this exam also, EPFO exam. That time everybody was mugging up this scheme. Okay, so EPFO, Employee Provident Fund Organization. Okay, so that is the implementing agency. So here you can see, to incentivize employers registered with EPFO. It is to incentivize employers who are registered with EPFO to give employment to new employees and re-employing persons from low wage brackets who lost their jobs during the COVID. So the whole logic is very simple. Okay, so creating more jobs in the formal sector, formal aspect, as well as re-employing them, those who have lost jobs because of COVID. Okay, so salient features you can observe here, this we have already seen. As a component of Atmanirbhar Bharat 3 package aimed at economic stimulation. Okay, so this is part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat 3 package, and subject to some specific conditions, benefit is extended to all EPFO registered establishments. EPFO registered establishments, I hope it is clear. Okay, and who are hired between October 1st, 2020 and June 30, 2021. And those who have lost jobs between March 20 and September. This is basically during that COVID impact. That is how you can remember. You can't remember the rates. It's not possible. Okay, so COVID impact, clearly visible that this is something related to handling the COVID impact. Okay, so Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, one aspect is creation of new employment by incentivizing whom? Employers. Very clear objective, which we have understood. 2, social security benefits to workers. That is why you're talking about formal aspect here. 3, restoration of loss of employment during COVID-19 pandemic. So primarily, there are 3 important aspects which they are focusing on. Okay, so you're incentivizing the employers. Okay, so create new employment, social security benefits to workers, and restoration of loss of employment because of COVID impact. These are the 3 things which I will remember. I hope it is clear. That's it. There's nothing much of a confusion there. Okay. So here you can see some data. This is the other areas there. See, the contribution made by the center to the EPF for establishment employing up to 1,000 employees. There is up to 1,000 employees, both employees and employees share of contribution, 12%. So this will be almost like 24% coming up to 1,000 employees for firms which are up to 1,000 employees. But when it is more than 1,000, it is only employees share that will become. So employee share means it is only 12%. Here 24%, 12%. Difficult to remember, but there is a condition. If the number of employees are more than 1,000 or less than 1,000, the contribution of the center the contribution by the center to the EPF would differ. That much I can remember. In fact, I can't remember the numbers like 12 and 24, but at least I can remember that the contribution would be different. Okay, and benefit is applicable for 24 months from the date of new employee registration with a deadline of March 2024. That is one more important entity there. Share of the contribution means it is, that is basically, who's making the contribution? Center? Fund. Yes. This is a mistake. It is, A is not there. It became ashram. Ashram yogi. The meaning itself got changed. So, Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandan. Ashram means you don't need anything. Okay, so this is something which, okay, so this will be under which ministry? Labor and Employment, same ministry, right? Okay. Now, here you can see, recently, Shram Yogi Mandan, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? Social security to unorganized sector employees. Is that okay? Social security to unorganized sector employees. Very clear. So that is what is the purpose. It is a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme. So very important aspect. This scheme is only for unorganized workers. This scheme is only for unorganized workers. Okay. And entry age is between 18 to 40. And income, monthly income of rupees 15,000 or below. These are the eligibility criteria. Okay, so when we talk about assuring old age protection and social security for unorganized workers, that is what is a primary aspect of Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandan. Are you able to get this? And here it is not for everybody. Obviously, it is for unorganized workers. Age between 80 to 40, you can enter. Monthly income of 15,000 or below. Very important. There can be a basic question. Basic question can be which ministry. Then purpose, social security to unorganized workers. Okay, and it is available for everybody, whatever is the income may be. That is a wrong statement. Obviously, there is an upper limit with respect to income that we should know that it is about 15,000 or below. Is that okay? So here you can see operates as a voluntary and contributory pension scheme on a 50:50 basis. That means everything they will only not put, obviously the other party. So when you also have to contribute. Is that okay? So, and implementing agency, LIC will be the pension fund manager and responsible for pension payout. LIC would be handling this. Okay, so difficult to remember, but we keep all the charts at one place and revise it in the same manner. Revise it in the same manner means aim, objective, central sector or centrally sponsored. Okay, so funding, nodal agency. That's it. Then only you can remember more number of schemes. Okay, so if you're reading everything, probably I think it becomes a clutter. It becomes a clutter. Okay, so digging deeper, but we find like something really important, then we will dig deeper. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, there will be a lot of trouble. So many ministries, so many schemes, you will put one for the other. Okay, so that will be a trouble. Okay, so here I think it is clear. Now see here, voluntary and contributory. The beneficiary is required to make a specified age-specific contribution, and the central government will provide a corresponding matching contribution. Is that okay? So both 50:50 is that only. Okay, so that is one thing. Minimum assured pension. Subscribers are guaranteed a minimum pension of rupees 3,000 per month upon reaching the age of 60. This number is important. This number is important. He can trick you out by giving 6,000 or 7,000. So this number is important. Subscribers are guaranteed a minimum pension of 3,000 per month upon reaching the age of 60. That is the whole purpose. So in the old age, pension should be available for the unorganized workers. This is the whole objective of the program. Objective of program 18 to 40 and unorganized and income below 15,000. That is the criteria. Contribution 50-50. 50-50. Contribution is 50-50. And after, when he reaches 60, he is eligible for a pension of how much? Minimum pension of how much? 3,000. That is a minimum pension. So minimum pension of 3,000. That is what you will remember. Okay, so family pension, in the event of subscribers' demise, the spouse is entitled to receive 50% of the pension as family pension. And family pension applies exclusively to the spouse. See the clause? Because son will beat and take it off. Okay, so see, very clearly mentioned, a pension applies exclusively to the spouse. Okay, so then here, compatibility with other schemes. Eligible individuals can join PMSYM in addition to Atal Pension Yojana, enrollment agencies, okay, regularization of contributors, etc. That. Okay, now here, see, conditions for enrollment. Individual should possess Aadhaar card as well as savings bank account, Jan Dhan account number. This is compulsory. Is that okay? So this is compulsory. Conditions for enrollment, Aadhaar, okay. I think till there it is clear. Okay, now one more important aspect. An individual must not be enrolled in National Pension Scheme, Employee State Insurance Schemes or EPFO, and should also not be a taxpayer. Now this is very important. Okay, so exclusion. Individual must not be enrolled in National Pension, Employee State Insurance, EPFO, and should also not be a taxpayer. Are you able to get this? So this is an important clause which I will remember. I think it's clear. Okay, so when we talk about the scheme, unorganized workers, what is the age? 18 to 40, okay, and 15,000 below. Okay, so 15,000 and below. This is one. Then 50:50 contribution. Aadhaar, Jan Dhan account required. Is it required? Yes. Minimum pension? Minimum pension 3,000. Minimum age 60. So that is another important thing which I can remember. Okay, so these are simple things. If a question comes here, I'll be able to answer. Another thing, simple thing which I can remember is individual should not be enrolled in National Pension Scheme, nor in the Employee State Insurance, EPFO, etc. And he should not be a taxpayer. This I can remember. Now what I can't remember, but still I will try. Employee State Insurance Company. Employee State Insurance. That is what is ESIC, state insurance. Okay, so here you can see conditions for enrollment. Now, early exit and refund. Okay, so less than 10 years, only beneficiaries' share of the contribution along with the savings bank interest will be returned. This is a condition. Only beneficiaries, whatever he contributed. Okay, so if it is less than 10 years, within less than 10 years you want to move off, okay, whatever your share is there, along with the bank interest, you can move out. Is that clear? That is what it says. After 10 years, but before 60. Okay, after 10 years, but before 60. If the subscriber exits before reaching 60 years of age, the beneficiary receives their share of contribution along with accumulated interest, either as earned by the fund or at the savings bank interest rate, whichever is higher. Okay, so based on that, that is how it is. Okay, permanent disability before 60. If the subscriber cannot continue, because you have to contribute, no? Okay, so you got the point, right? You are also contributing. Okay, so if permanent disability before, if the subscriber can't continue, the spouse can choose to continue by paying regular contributions or exit the scheme. These are some aspects which are there. Is that clear? So obviously, if he's disabled or there's some unforeseen event that comes into picture, then he can't contribute, then the spouse can take up, that is what it says, or they can exit. Okay, so this is about the scheme. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so let's move forward. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. So there is 6 years of PM Ujjwala. That is the reason there is a discussion here. Okay, and center will add new LPG connections over next 3 years, spanning from 23-24 to 25-26. This is the reason why there is a discussion. So 75 lakh LPG connections over the 3-year period, spanning from financial year 23-24 to 25-26. Okay, under PM Ujjwala Yojana. Okay, so what is the main purpose? Safeguarding health of women and children by providing them with a clean cooking fuel. So which ministry? Petroleum and natural gas. Okay, we'll come to that. Very factual, no? Okay, so now see here, consider the following statements regarding Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Okay, I think it is clear. Okay, so this is how, this question was already asked, CDS. All questions are asked only, most of them. Very few are, some are like my questions, but most of them are asked somewhere in UPSC conducted exams. Okay, now see here. Applicant, women only who must have attained 18 years of age. Okay, so that is very clear here. The purpose is very clear. Safeguarding health of women and children by providing them with a clean cooking fuel. Women only who must have attained 18 years of age. Okay, and then you can see benefits. Deposit-free connection for cooking gas cylinders. Okay, deposit-free. Will we get deposit-free connections generally? No, no. You know this, right? Okay, so, and primary beneficiaries, obviously, women and children. Okay, so that is one observation. Objective, deposit-free LPG connections to those low-income families who could not be covered under the earlier phases. So earlier phases, this is a new phase, no, where you are coming up with new extension. So those who are not covered in the earlier phases, now you are trying to cover them. So in 2016, the program was introduced to offer 8 crore deposit-free LPG connections to rural and deprived households. This is the objective. Following the successful Ujjwala Phase 1, Union Budget 21-22 announced an additional provision for 1 crore connections under the scheme. Okay, so this is about the scheme. Now see the eligibility criteria. An adult woman from a poor household without an existing LPG. This is what it is. Is that clear? Okay. And central financial assistance of rupees 1600 for each LPG connection. Okay, so this is again difficult areas to remember, but just an observation here. Central financial assistance of rupees 1600 for each LPG connection, and subsidy of 200 per 14 kg refill up to 12 refills per year. Difficult to remember, don't remember it. Difficult. This is like, so getting deeper and deeper, the numbers becomes very difficult. Okay, so just we'll observe, okay, fine, there is, fine. But the questions that come will be something like this, or there will be one more clause that would be added, that's it. Okay. Already your face expressions are changing. Oh, okay, fine. Let's go to the next. The Ministry of Panchayat Raj. Okay, so here Swamitva scheme. Heard of this scheme? Okay, so this program is to provide an integrated inhabited property ownership solution to rural India. There is a procedure, if we have to see here. Okay, so you can see here. So establishment of signing of MOU between Survey of India and UP. And there is a core station set up, which will help you to do the imaging, etc. And then organizing Gram Sabha. Then this is about education aspect. Okay, so you're telling everybody, education aspect. Then marking will be done. And then establishment of control points. And then drone survey. Then the feature extraction online, that is done. Then the map would be generated. Once the map is generated, obviously everybody will not be happy. Dispute resolution. And then ultimately sample of final property card generation. Okay, so this is how the process happens. I will get this. Okay, so this is how the process of Swamitva happens. Is that okay? Okay, so now let's go to this. Before this, we'll see one or two questions and then go to the discussion. Okay, so with respect to PM Swamitva, I missed something here. Okay, so consider the following statements. The scheme aims to provide the record of rights to village households, owners, and issuance of property cards to the property owners. Is that okay? The scheme uses traditional surveying techniques to create land records, no coarse technique. It is there in, okay? So it is not the traditional surveying technique. So it is not the traditional surveying technique. This question was not asked. It's my question only. Okay, so this is not asked in UPSC. Okay, so I think this is clear. Understood, right? So it is not a traditional surveying technique. That is very clear. Now see this. Consider the following statements. It was launched to establish a clear ownership of property in rural inhabited areas. It was launched by Ministry of Finance, Panchayat Raj. Okay, so the second statement is obviously wrong. It is not Ministry of Finance, it is Ministry of Panchayat Raj. That's very clear. And ownership of property in rural inhabited areas, that is okay. Okay, I think that is clear. There should not be any confusion there. Okay, so this is how that is an easy question. An easy question if they have to ask, that should be the questioning pattern that they can follow. Okay, so why was it in discussion? Because of the National Award for E-Governance 2023. National Award for E-Governance 2023. So here, to provide an integrated inhabited property ownership solution for rural India. That is the primary purpose. And it's a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme. Okay, and all 31 states and union territories. And what is the primary objective here? Some objectives you can see: accurate land records for rural planning and reduce property related disputes. This is the main objective. So objective is very clear. Okay, so accurate land records for rural planning and reduce property related disputes, and to bring financial stability to the citizens in the rural India by enabling them to use their property as a financial assets. So everything is given to you. So therefore it helps you to raise money also, taking loans from the banks, etc. So that is also one more important aspect. And it can also help you to determine the property tax. And creation of survey infrastructure and GIS maps that can be leveraged by any department for their use. So all the data is with you, you can use it for any purpose you want. Okay, so proper Gram Panchayat development can be done by making use of these GIS maps. That is the main objective. So this is the objectives here, very clear. Okay, so the scheme aims to cover 6 lakh villages from the financial year 2021 to 2024-25. Okay, so this is very clear here, 6 lakh villages from 2021 to 24-25. So main activities you can see, continuous operating reference stations. This is what I was showing, core stations being set up there. Okay, so that is what is continuous operating reference stations. Okay, so supports accurate georeferencing, etc. And then you also have large-scale mapping using drones. Large-scale mapping using drones that would be run. So this is how the methodology of the very clear observation should be this. This is how the process of Swamitva happens. Okay. Next is Ministry of Power. One scheme here, Ministry of Power. Mission on Advanced and High Impact Research. Okay, so have you seen this scheme anytime? Okay, so Mission on Advanced and High Impact Research, Mahir. Okay, so primarily what is, so this is also an interministerial means the scheme is launched in collaboration with New and Renewable Energy. This is a collaboration here, and tenure is 23-24 to 27-28. So primarily focuses on indigenous research and focusing on emerging technologies in the power sector. Emerging technologies in the power sector. So that is the primary purpose, and the scheme is launched in collaboration with New and Renewable Energy. So that is the interministerial aspect here. Okay. So main objective, identifying emerging technologies, areas of future relevance for the energy sector. That is the primary objective. Primary objective is identifying the new technologies for the future. Okay, and creating a vibrant and innovative ecosystem and provide a common platform for the energy sector. Okay, so this is what is the primary objective of the scheme. So here you can see there is the focus areas here, nanotechnology, okay, and you're focusing on green hydrogen, carbon capture, geothermal energy, etc. Okay, so here you can see funding patterns, Ministry of Power, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and the CPSC under them, Central Public Sector Enterprises, and also centers budgetary resources. This is the funding pattern for the program. Okay, funding pattern, Ministry of Power, Ministry of Renewable Energy, and Central Public Sector Enterprises under them. Is that okay? So this is the funding pattern. So the significance is what? Achieves net zero emission, and there is increasing energy demand, that is the focus. Promote initiatives like Make in India and Startup, okay, and focusing on sustainable development. Here you can see net zero emission, helping in meeting growing energy demands, promote initiatives like Make in India and Startup. Now see this Ministry of Heavy Industries. Now see this question first. See this question, Ministry of Heavy Industry. Okay, now see this. Consider the following statements regarding Ministry of Heavy Industries launched Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme. So this is the program. So Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme. Okay, so under which ministry? Ministry of Heavy Industry. That is what first thing you will have to remember. Okay, so you can see this. It will be implemented by Ministry of Heavy Industries. Is the statement okay? The statement is okay. There is no trouble there. It will be implemented along with FAME 2. FAME 2 is what? Faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Is the statement okay? No, that has ended actually. So this program is announced after the FAME 2. Simple logic. Okay, you already had faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Okay, so that was already there. That was a program, FAME 1, FAME 2. So at the end of the FAME 2, now we are talking about Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme. It is not along with it. That's over, and therefore we have come up with this program. This is the first observation. Is this okay? So what is the primary observation here? See here. Aim would be adoption of electric vehicles. We all know that electric vehicles is the future. Okay. And adoption of electric vehicles, especially two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Here the focus is on two-wheeler and three-wheelers, and to provide impetus to green mobility and development of electric vehicle manufacturing ecosystem. That is the primary objective, which earlier FAME was handling it. Now it is this particular Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme, which primarily focuses on two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Okay. And to implement EMPS, the same program, after end of tenure of FAME, on 31st March 2024. So FAME is over on 31st March 2024, and that is when they have decided to come up with Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme. Is that okay? Yes. Nodal ministry, obviously it is Ministry of Heavy Industries. Okay. And subsidies, demand incentives for two-wheeler and three-wheelers. Incentives for electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Okay, so, and administration of the scheme, including information, education and communication activities, and fee for project management agency. So that will all be done. So there is a focus here with respect to information, education and communication. Okay, so I think you should be knowing about original equipment manufacturer. Okay, so the manufacturer, the original equipment manufacturer is required to be registered with Ministry of Heavy Industries if you want to avail these incentives. Okay, so see the eligibility criteria. Vehicles which are registered as motor vehicle as per Central Motor Vehicle rules, as well as vehicles fitted with only advanced batteries. This is also clearly mentioned there. So vehicles fitted with advanced batteries and Central Motor Vehicle rules. Okay, so this is the eligibility criteria. That means the best batteries have to be used. Okay, almost all the batteries should be lithium batteries, isn't it? Okay, so project implementation and sanction committee headed by secretary and functions. Okay, so I think this is clear. So this is after the FAME 2. That is what you should understand, FAME 2. Okay, after FAME 2, and primary objective is faster adoption of two-wheeler and three-wheeler electric vehicles. So that is the primary objective here, very clear. So I'll show you here also. See, to provide impetus to green mobility and development of electric vehicle manufacturing ecosystem in the country, that is objective. And primarily it is two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Okay. This is about the scheme. See, there are some conditions, probably you can remember these conditions. Okay, so these are the conditions. So along with the nodal ministry, okay, so there is some conditions here, criteria with regard to vehicles efficiency. So one is that entity, that is the original equipment manufacturer, should be registered with the Ministry of Heavy Industry. That is one criteria. And obviously, these vehicle rules they have to adhere to, and only advanced batteries have to be used if you want to become eligible for the funding. So these are some important conditions to be followed. Okay, so that is about the scheme. last 1 or 2 ministries. Okay, so next is Ministry of Jal Shakti. Now, this Ministry of Jal Shakti, if I have to see, there is an importance. The importance is, it was created by merging Ministry of Water Resources, Rural Development and Ganga Rejuvenation with the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation in May 2019. This is the observation here, see here. So, Ministry of Water Resources and Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation were merged to come up with Ministry of Jal Shakti in May 2019. That means some slight change that is there, and therefore I will remember this ministry or Ministry of Jal Shakti. The merger was part of Indian government's efforts to streamline water-related activities, improve water management, and also address issues related to pollution, access to clean water, etc. All this. Okay, so that is the reason. So this is about the Ministry of Jal Shakti. So 2019, there is a merger of 2 ministries. And that is how Ministry of Jal Shakti has come into existence. So this is one important aspect which you will remember. Okay. So now the program here is Atal Bhujal Yojana. Okay, so primarily what is the logic here? Why is it in discussion? Okay, so the program is going to be continued even after 2025. That means the program will continue till 2027. So that is the reason it is there under discussion. So Atal Bhujal Yojana, there is a continuation of the program for another 2 years, and that is the reason it is in the discussion. I hope it is clear. Okay, so primarily Atal Bhujal Yojana's primary objective is groundwater management. That is the prime objective. So it is not for all the areas. There are primarily 7 areas that they have identified. And in these 7 areas, there will be focus on the groundwater management. So 7 areas here. So 7 areas, water stressed areas. Water stressed areas they have identified. And in these 7 areas, Atal Bhujal Yojana will be extended. I think this is clear. So 7 areas. And the primary objective is to improve the groundwater management, and this is also a central sector scheme. Central sector, so central sector scheme. One more important observation here for this program is 50% funding through World Bank loan and remaining through budgetary support. This is one more thing which I will remember. It can be a factual statement in the exam where 50% is coming through World Bank loan and the remaining is coming through the budgetary support. Okay, so the nodal agency for implementation is the Central Groundwater Board. Central Groundwater Board of the Department of Water Resources. Okay, so that is the nodal agency for implementing the program. So nodal agency for implementing the program is Central Groundwater Board. Is this clear? Okay, so Atal Bhujal Yojana primarily focusing in news because you're extending it for another 2 years. You're focusing on water stressed areas. You have identified 7 places which are visible in this chart here. Okay, and what is the funding pattern? 50% funding, World Bank is helping you out, and another 50% obviously remaining would be through budgetary support. So this is something which I will remember. And mandatory participation of women. So when we talk about testing, etc., with respect to the water quality and other things, so there is a training that is done for the women here, and there is a mandatory participation of women in this particular program. I hope till here there is no confusion. And this is important. We're doing it a little slow here. This is important program. Why? Because Jal Shakti. That's all. That is the reason it is important. Okay, now see here. Consider the following statements. Is it visible? These one. Okay, so Water Resources Ministry. Now that is basically Ministry of Jal Shakti, but earlier it was obviously Ministry of, you can call it as Ministry of Water Resources Ministry. No confusion there, okay? And it will be supported by World Bank. Now then there will be a confusion like, is it supported, not supported? Is it for all the areas? No, 7 areas, water stressed areas. That is something which I'll keep in mind. And the emphasis on the scheme will be on recharge of groundwater sources and efficient use of water. Okay, so this is something like a, not a difficult question, not a difficult question. I think if I know the basic aspects in the scheme, I'll be able to mark this answer. Some are meditating already. Deep sleep. That's what I was thinking, schemes class, no? So schemes class, that too for more than 2.5 hours. It was a very big challenge. Okay, so a very big challenge. Why? Because it is like music only. You can't talk anything. You can't explain any. So this is again for prelims. So for mains, at least you can talk about some way forward or something. Here there is nothing like way forward. But at the same time, the objective of the program is like you should know how to read a scheme. This is one thing. What I will look into when I'm skiing a scheme, like what are the things I will identify? This is one more important aspect for prelims. For prelims, these are the things I will identify. Third thing is I will solve all the previous questions. We are also putting few previous questions. All the previous questions I will check. And the recent CDS and CAPF, any schemes that are asked, I will also check that. This is one more important observation. Okay. And few important ministries. See, anything related to women, education, okay, labor and employment, MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises, environment related aspect. Okay, so these are more important, obviously. So these are the ministries which I will be focusing more. Okay, so things are clear here. So incentives to states. States receive incentives under the scheme based on performance and achievements of predefined indicators. It is not that it is completely like you can manage. Okay, so grassroots level governance, active participation of the communities, Gram Panchayat, okay, and water security plans and their implementation would be monitored by the center. Okay, so that is one more important observation here. And CGWB, this is the Central Groundwater Board, which is under the Ministry of Jal Shakti, which is the nodal agency, which is under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. It can come up as a prelim statement. It can come up as a prelim statement. So one is know what is the scheme. Okay, then second is World Bank contribution. Third thing is like 7 different areas where there is trouble or where there is water stress. And then Ministry of Jal Shakti, how did it come into existence? When was it? 2019. Okay, and then the nodal agency for this program, Central Groundwater Board. Is that okay? Yes. Har Ghar Jal. Now see here, there can be some tricky questioning patterns that kill. So here if you see, Jal Jeevan Mission, obviously the same ministry. Okay, so Jal Jeevan Mission. Which ministry? Jal Shakti, Ministry of Jal Shakti. Okay, now recently there is also Jal Jeevan Mission Urban announced. This is Jal Jeevan Mission is primarily for rural households, tap connections. Tap connections, rural households. That is what is Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar Jal. But recent discussion is if it is saying only for rural, no, now Jal Jeevan Mission is also there for urban also. That will be under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry. I think you're getting this. Okay, so this is one important observation. It is now if I have to observe Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar Jal, milestone of 13 crore rural household tap connections. So that is what they have achieved. That is the reason there is a discussion of this particular program. They have achieved a milestone, 13 crore rural household tap connections. So the whole program is like ensuring tap water supply to every rural home by 2024. Okay, but now again there is this discussion in the budget 21-22. Sorry, this is 21-22. The discussion is Jal Jeevan Mission Urban announced under the Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry. So it is not just for, so here if you see, the chief objective of the mission is to provide piped water supply to all rural households only by 2024. So now the objective is little beyond rural. Now the objective, don't go by this. The objective is, there's nothing wrong in that. Here it is basically you're talking about rural households only. But government is also talking about urban from 2021-22 budget. I think, is this clear? Okay, so the focus only on rural, no, urban is also there, and it aims to create local infrastructure for rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge and management of household wastewater for reuse in agriculture and industry. There is nothing wrong there, it is a perfect statement. But focus is not only rural, along with rural, now under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, now there is also a focus of Jal Jeevan Mission Urban announced. Is that clear till there? Okay, so no one is left out. That is why you're saying Har Ghar Pani, and it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Centrally sponsored. Difficult. What a central sector. That means I have to write everything at one place and then I have to recollect. Okay, so otherwise you will not remember which one is central sector, which one is centrally sponsored. Okay, so centrally sponsored, center state funding 50:50. Center state funding 50:50, and UTs without legislature 100% from the center. UTs without legislature 100% from the center. Northeast and Himalayan states 90:10. Okay, so this is something which you will remember. So two important observations here. This is centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, and objective Har Ghar Jal, that is the objective. Focus also on urban areas. Okay, so this is okay. So there are two other things which I want you all to read. Okay, so I'll just mention. Okay, so here you can see Goa becomes the first Har Ghar Jal certified state. Now these things sometimes are coming up as statements. If I've seen last 2-3 years papers, you will find that instead of giving Goa, he can give something else also. Okay, so that is one more important thing. So Goa becomes the first Har Ghar Jal certified state. That is something which you will have to remember. And Andaman Nicobar Island becomes the first Swachh Sujal Pradesh. Okay, that this. Okay. So here Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman becomes the first Har Ghar Jal certified UT. Okay, so at least I will remember Goa and Dadra Nagar Haveli. Okay, so then women empowerment. So here in this program, a minimum of 5 women in each village are being trained to use field test kits for water quality testing at the village level. So there's women empowerment clause there. There's a focus on women empowerment in this particular scheme. And how is it? It is basically minimum 5 women in the village are being trained to use field test kits for water quality testing at the village level. Is that okay? Then capacity building of women in sectors which were otherwise considered male bastions, were like working as mansions and etc. So that is minimum 50% members of the Pani Samitis are to be women. Okay, so these are the conditions in the scheme, 50%. That is the reason there is this aspect of women empowerment that is pulled in there. Class is not over. Okay. Where is the music coming? It's a mobile ringtone, huh? Okay, okay, fine. Fine. Okay. Namami Ganga. I'll open these two schemes. See, one is Ministry of Civil Aviation. What is the scheme there? Udan. That you have to read that. Okay, so that is one thing. Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. Okay, which ministry? Ministry of Civil Aviation. That is one scheme which you will read. And in this, one last. Namami Gange Yojana. Okay, so there's a huge discussion. So you can see evolution of river basin approach. Is there? Go to that page 65. Page 65. Last 2 minutes. Page 65. Go to. Is it page 65? Okay, page 65, right? So page 65, evolution of river basin approach. Okay, and 8 key pillars under Namami Gange. Okay, that is page number 64, 8 key pillars. Is it there, the box? 8 key pillars. what is the implementing agency for the program? Implementing agency, National Mission for Clean Ganga. Implementing agency, National Mission for Clean Ganga. Is there an external assistance for Namami Gange? World Bank. Okay, so that is one more observation there. World Bank is funding the projects through loan approved for a period of 5 years up to 2026. 5 years up to 2026. Okay, so that is one thing which you will. And then last one should be Swachh Bharat mission. Not the phase 2, read Swachh Bharat mission as it is. Okay, Swachh Bharat mission as it is. Yes. Okay, that's it. That's all for today. Thank you.